Hello and welcome everybody back to We've Got Issues. It is our chance to come to you with all the latest things that have been within our group text thread that hopefully will resonate with you because there's so much going on in the world. We like to offer our perspectives on things, but also not just what's news and noteworthy, but things that may just be interesting to us or we've come across. And so we're sharing it with you. Again, I'm here with my great friends of more than 40 years, each of us coming with their own perspective. I've got Darren Gray.
Hey,
What's up? Usually he's repping Detroit and he's doing it in a unique way today.
I've got my Detroit tie clip.
That's right. That's right. Always riding hard for the D. That's
Yep.
Darren. And then we got Ron Evans back east. What's up, brother?
Love LA, but representing the ATL right now.
I believe he's got a daughter who's down south right now in school. So it's a good thing. And joining us once again to be a part of the festivities, our very own Ella Neely. Thank you. What's up?
Happy day, everybody.
All right. So I'm sure we'll have some interesting things to talk about. Today, we're going to start off with our good man, Ron. We're going to launch into what's been on his mind this week. So take it away, Ron.
Thank you much. Appreciate it. My topic is trusted advisors. Build yourself a personal board of directors. And there's a clip we're going to show that describes what a personal board of directors does. But for those that are not familiar with it because they don't work in corporate America or they're not familiar with it in general, a board of directors are the governing people in a corporation. They don't actually run the operation, but they are the executive committee. Usually the CEO is part of this committee, and they set the strategy, the direction, they approve various capital expenditures, activities. They say whether they think it's in the best interest of the company to implement the vision that the president or the CEO wants to implement. If you turn this to a personal board of directors, there was a brother that was, he's a board member at UPS, and he came and spoke with the Black Leadership Council at our company, and he said, find yourself a personal board of directors and make sure they tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. And when we think about this, there's a couple things. There's probably two circles of our personal life and our professional life. In our professional life, I have two people that I trust completely. Both of them are at work, and I trust them. I completely trust them. And they give me guidance, or I bounce ideas off their heads on, hey, I'm thinking about doing this move, or this thing happened at work. How would you handle it? Let me get your feedback. I just need people that I can trust that have experience, that understand the corporate culture, the politics, that can give me a perspective maybe that I don't have because they're higher in the organization. And on a personal level, the personal board of directors in your personal life are people that know you, people like people that we've known for 30, 40 years that are going through similar challenges potentially that can give you perspective. One of them would be our friend in Denver, that our first children were literally born 2 days apart. And we've gone through similar growth in our marriages, strong wives, and we have a lot in common. So we can bounce ideas off of each other. And then the last thing I would say before I turn it over to you guys is, in your personal board of directors, I think the other thing that I discovered recently is make sure that one of your personal board of directors in your personal life is someone of the opposite sex. Because if you get into just talking to guys about women and not consulting a woman who's in your inner circle, you're going to get a very biased view. So that's the pitch for, we need to think about who do we trust, who do we feel that we can run ideas by without being judged, and do we have them? So I will throw it open to you guys. How does this resonate with you? And do you consider either professionally or personally that you have some personal board of directors?
Yeah, Darren, why don't you take it first, brother?
Professional, yeah, I've got what I would call a professional board of directors. There's they're more like mentors, people who are in the field who can relate what I'm talking to, and then there are folks that are just in business or education who can give me a general sense. So yeah, I have it in the professional realm. Personal realm is a little bit harder. Particularly when you say, having someone of the opposite sex. That I don't really have anybody from the opposite sex that I talk to on a regular basis. Personally, I'm not Mike Pence or anything, but they're just not people. And I think I talked about that in an earlier one. So it's a little bit harder in the personal board of directors. I don't really have anybody that I can really have conversations with.
Right. And for that female perspective, Ella, why don't you tell us what your take on that whole subject is?
I think it's very important. Since God, like when I came out of college, I always thought that I wanted to have people around me who were smarter than me, who had more experience than I did, who could guide me, who could show me the way. And that's what I strive for. So in whatever field that I was in at that particular time, I always sought out somebody who could help me. And I know, I'm in construction. And so anytime I'm about to do something, it could be plumbing, it could be HVAC, I always call the expert in that field to guide me. I say, hey, I never make a decision especially that I don't know about before I consult them, because they know the ups and downs. They know all the little intricacies you think you might know, but then they give some guiding hands. And I think it's important, and it's something that I do and have. And personally, I have one really good friend that I consult with all the time, because I think personal becomes a little more difficult, because you want to be vulnerable and you want to be able to express how you feel without being judged or without having to have a concern that somebody's going to go and tell your business somewhere. And so, and then also a lot of times it's the maturity level of the person. Like there's just certain people, you know who to tell what to. And I think it's very important. I don't know that I have a male, and I'm so happy that I have you guys now to talk to, because I want you to be my personal advisor today. But I think that is key. I think that, you surround yourself with people who can take you to another level. And I think that that's very important. And I relish having those relationships.
Yeah, I think that's an area of development for me. I have not been as conscientious about that issue of having a professional board of directors. There's that old saying that you're the sum total of the 5 people that you spend the most time with, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
yeah, and so the honest truth is that on a day-to-day level, other than my wife, there's not a lot of people that I spend time with like in a consistent way, because I work from home. I'm an independent, entrepreneur, that kind of thing. So I come in contact with a lot of people intermittently based on what I'm doing. But in terms of forging or fostering that conscious group that Ron, you spoke of saying, okay, when I want to go about this, I just consult with these people just in general. I don't necessarily have that, although I do have people, whether it's you on this, on here with me, or other friends of ours that we know, that the blessing of having been connected with a group of people for many, many years that have a variety of backgrounds in different pursuits, industries, marital statuses, marital length of time, all those things. It gives you an opportunity to do that. So it hasn't been something that I've done consciously, but I feel like I have that support. It's something I want to do a little bit more of. So, Ron, what else you got on that?
I think Ella touched on something that we shouldn't go over too quickly, and that is there has to be a maturity and a trust that when you share something, they won't put your business in the streets.
Yes.
And that is, there's always that possibility of who can I trust. And they look, be blunt, even among our friends. It's like,
Yes.
okay, there's some of you I'll tell some things to, others I'm not going to tell you.
Exactly.
Sorry.
Yeah, Ron, there was that one time that you told me.
That's right. Exactly. And I think that the way I've always looked at this is, if you imagine yourself in our solar system and you're the sun, okay, and you got 8 or 9 planets, depending on your belief in Pluto, you've got 8 or 9 planets lined up. Who are those inner 3? That the ones that, and they could change from, like, as you go through life, they may change, but who are those inner 3 that it's like, okay, if my wife is saying something about our daughters and I'm like, this don't make a damn bit of sense, let me call, my female friend and say, yo, does this make sense to you? Because it doesn't make sense to me. Oh, okay, I get it. If it's about, corporate America, okay, let me call, my boy in Dallas or my boy in Denver and say, yo, man, this is what I'm going through. What would you do? And there has to be this belief that, you're not going to circle it back and tell my wife or my friend or whoever. It's like, this is something that's between us. The other thing I would say is, I do not believe that proximity is that important, because, as I mentioned, well, Los Angeles, Denver, and Dallas, I see some of them only a couple times a year.
Right.
But we pick up right where we left off. We pick up with all of us. We pick up right where we left off, because that's the beauty of being friends for so long.
Is this board of directors concept something that you've always consciously tried to build, or was it opportunistic? It's like having a mentor, right? People say you can't necessarily ask someone to be a mentor per se. It develops organically. So your board of directors, did that happen organically or consciously?
I mean, it's hard to, I guess,
specifically professionally, specifically in the professional realm.
In a professional sense, it sort of happened organically, and then when I heard this guy at UPS put a label on it, it's like, oh yeah. I have one person I trust. Now there's that other guy that I trust. So I guess this is what their role is in my life at work. And I hadn't thought of it before. I didn't go through life thinking that, this is something that I needed. But when the label happened and I started hearing about it from other places, like, oh, okay, yeah. People that will tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. And that's the most important thing, is if I'm about to walk off a cliff, please tell me, stop. And I think that's what's so critical, is we're not going to always agree. I may not like what you tell me, but I'm going to think about it, because I love you and I believe that you have my best interest. So let me reflect on it.
Well, for me,
But also, I think, like, for me, it's like, if I want to go somewhere, and I don't know how to get there, then I need somebody to help guide me. And so that's why I wanted to have people in my life who had experienced it, who could say, hey, do this or do that. And that's, it's important to, have goals and reach it, and understand that you don't know everything and that you need help. And those directors, those people that embrace you and can help you and get you to a next level, I think are very impactful. And it starts with being able to say, hey, I need help. Because a lot of times we want to act like we don't need any help and we know everything and we're talking all the time.
Preach, Ella. Preach.
And then somebody says something and sparks something, like, oh, okay, let me go to them for some guidance. And I think so many times we're talking too much, and we need to listen more.
Well, for me, it's always been situational in the professional realm. So it's, if I need to talk to someone who is an executive who's been around a while, there's one person I go to, but I wouldn't go to that person for other things. So it's really situational, and I may go to that person one time in my career, but it's really just having people in places that can offer the best advice for that situation. And that's sort of how I've been my entire professional career, is being more situational and strategic. Personally, there's like some people, you know, like you said, not everybody needs to know everything. There are some people who I will go to with issues, but I'm always really cautious because sometimes their advice is colored by what they're going through at that moment. And they may not necessarily give me the best advice for me. They're giving me the best advice for them if they were in that situation. I don't know if that makes sense.
I think that makes a lot of sense. And, you know, you mentioned something and Ella mentioned something that refers back to something my wife and I were discussing recently, which is that sometimes, to the extent that you want to be vulnerable so that you can request the help that you need, you also have to be aware, like Ella was saying, and like my wife was mentioning, that you don't always want to expose your weaknesses, right? Because people can sometimes use that against you. Hopefully the people that you will reveal not knowing, because not knowing is generally not rewarded, right? A sense of being in need is often not rewarded. We see that from a political sense. We see that, you know, in group dynamics. Sometimes the person who's willing to extend their hand and ask for help isn't always rewarded, but under the right circumstances, that person can actually get the help that they need to make them better. So knowing who you're dealing with is going to be incredibly important to the right outcome. The one thing I wanted to say about that, though, is that I think everybody likes to be asked to offer help, and that makes people feel closer to you. You know, when you're able to actually ask for help, it actually builds a bond. And Darren, I like the last point that you made, which is that you have to be discerning at the same time, because they may be telling you something. Either they have a vested interest in the outcome, and that could, what you do might impact them, or they're telling you from their point of view, which you have to be able to filter through the reality of what you're facing and take that which is good and leave that which is bad. I want to ask this to you and Ron about the being in the corporate environment, because Ella and I are not in a corporate environment. So the political part of being in the corporate environment is much different for you two. So has that been helpful for you guys, or do you even refer to other people when you're dealing with the political part of doing your job?
Political, you mean like the day-to-day politics and work, or like the greater politics of like?
Take it all, because it's all kind of merging together. The national politics, you know, are certainly impacting the corporate politics that were already there. So you take that how you will.
Well, in my world, I try to navigate a neutral position, even though the neutral position favors the oppressor, because it just does. So like today, one of my staff, stop laughing at me, Ron. One of my staff members came to me and said, "Hey, with everything that's going on in the city, maybe we should pull everybody together just to do a check-in." And I said, no, because there may be some people in our group who actually agree with what's going on, and we don't want to alienate them as well. And so I tend to take that neutral approach, like, this is your job. Only focus on that part of your job. And keep all the other stuff.
This is your job. This is your job.
Keep the other stuff out of the workplace, because the workplace is what pays your mortgage, your car note, and everything else. You don't want to jeopardize that. If you, and what I actually said to her, and I probably need to apologize, I said, everybody here has health benefits. So we all have access to mental health and therapists. So if people need to express that, then they should avail themselves of their health benefits.
You wouldn't go to Darren for this kind of
right. He would not be the
not that guy. He's not that guy. Don't ever give anybody any more advice like that.
Yeah, Ron, please give us your take on it and tell us it's not the same.
I need a moment.
Right. Is our EQ number dipping there, Ron?
Oh my God. I mean, wow. I mean, I'm sure that works in state penitentiaries and that workforce, but where people have the opportunity to switch jobs, I'm not sure that lack of empathy is the path I would take. No, I mean, I think that in corporate America, the one truism is you don't discuss politics at work. All it does is divide. So what's going on outside of our company, I mean, obviously we're aware of it. We're obviously aware of tariffs, trade, anything that affects the economy and the recession, because we dip our beak in commerce around the world, and mostly in this country. So we benefit from a robust economy. I think that when it comes to on the professional level, there are people that I trust that understand the players that I'm talking about at work. They understand the politics, and most importantly, one of them, we've been friends for 28 years, I think. 1998 is when we met. And the other one is a guy that I met when I first started, and we've been fast friends ever since. He's an SVP. I'm a VP, so he sees a larger landscape than I do. And he's a brother from South Carolina, and he's just good people. And he sees things, and he plays the political game very well. And I'm very comfortable in saying, "Hey, man, got this opportunity," or "Why did you take that opportunity?" And we know that everything is 100% in the cone of silence. And it's rare to have those people where you can have those very open and honest conversations. I've listed 2 people out of a company that's over 35,000.
Mhm.
So,
and for me in the corporate political world, I'm very guarded because a lot of people will say, "Well, I want to share something with you that I don't want you to share with anybody else." And I'm like, "Well, if you're sharing with me, that means that you violated the other person's trust." Because they're sharing something that they heard at a meeting, and they're bringing it in confidence to me, and I'm like, "Well, you just broke somebody. I'm not sharing anything with you because you just broke somebody else's confidence." So I'm very strategic in that political game, which is like I've said in prior podcasts, what's my mission? And so I may say something that furthers my mission, knowing that it's going to get leaked somewhere else, but it's very purposeful. And when dealing with controversial things, I always make sure that I say something that is advantageous for my organization, my department, even if it's contrary to what I think, because it's about winning.
it's about winning.
Yeah, winning, the mission.
You
Wow.
can't win in corporate America. There's no winning, but that's another story for another podcast.
You're saying
So
there's
as
no winning for the individual. There's only winning for the company. Is that what you're
Exactly.
Yeah,
There's
and
no
when your missions
winning.
align, you get to win. You get to ride those coattails, man. Riding them coattails.
Darren, I need to introduce you to Simon Sinek, the author of The Infinite Game. Google it, please. We'll talk later.
Go
So
ahead.
I think for me, being a female in the construction field that's very male centric, dominated, misogynistic, all of those things, you have to be comfortable within yourself because women are supposed to be seen but not heard. And a lot of times you can be in a meeting and people won't say anything because men or people with loud voices dominate. And I think that for me, it's really important to feel confident in who I am. And I'm not afraid to say, "Hey, what does that mean? I don't know what that means. Would you explain that?" Because a lot of times you'll sit there and somebody will say something that goes over your head and you won't say anything because you might feel intimidated. But it's important not to feel intimidated, to get the strength within yourself to know that you deserve to be there. And because you are there, you can ask questions and make comments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the areas. Go ahead, Darren.
Yeah, I agree. But the thing that I always look at, like I tend to be a little bit more closer to the center, a little bit right of center, in my political leanings. And in every place that I go, everybody is pretty left. And so they'll have these ongoing conversations about, this topic or that topic, or, or even in terms of the organization. And so, I say things that are in the interest, again, of my organization. I tell you a quick story. When I used to work for a school district, I'd be in a meeting and the boss would say something and try to get my agreement. And so what I would say is, well, it's like my old dear mother used to say, when you got a dirty mattress, you got to get it cleaned. Man, I would just make up stuff. And people, Ella, when you say
that mean?
It doesn't mean anything. I just make it up. And so, Ella, like when people, they don't want you to think that they don't know what that means. And they go, oh, yeah. So later on, when that boss would say, yeah, Darren agrees with me because she really couldn't say what I said, I would just make it up. Well, my papa used to say, I would just make up stuff. Right. And no one ever called me on it. Not one person. Well, even if they did, I'd be like, he's from Vicksburg, Alabama or something. So that's how I would escape getting pinned in on things that I didn't want to talk about.
Right. Wow. But you know what, though? That strategy would not work on Ella, and it would not work on me, because I'd be like, you know what? Hey, yo, I'm sorry. I haven't had enough coffee this morning. Can you explain what that means?
Oh, dude, I would go on. I would make up a really long story about my grandfather.
We also have a BS detector. We knows when it goes off.
Well, you know me for 40 years, so yeah.
No. That's at work. In corporate America, people will try to run game on you. And you have to listen to their words and listen to what they say, not what they want you to hear, but what did they say? I was having this conversation with our oldest daughter a couple days ago about hear what they say, not what they want you to think they said. Mm-hmm. And Ella, I really love your humility in saying, you know what, I have no problem. I am so comfortable in my skin. Mm-hmm. Again, for me, it's like, I'm sorry, I haven't had enough coffee. I'll, a self-depreciating comment, but I need you to explain that to me.
Yeah.
Because that's so important,
man. I'll be fact checking people in real time.
but that's because you want to win.
Yeah, that's what men do.
Win.
No. That's what that man does.
Yeah,
that's what that man does. Okay, I want to expose the truth, but I don't need to have them lose face in the process. I want to
on the board.
Right. I want to know whether they're full of it or not. But I don't need to say, I've decided you're full of it, and I'm going to make sure everyone in the room knows it because I've caught you in a lie.
Oh no, I take the receipts. I take.
And most times, I mean, the people around you. You know who they are,
mm-hmm. And other people know who they are.
Exactly.
Like it's not like you're the only one who knows this. It's just a matter of whether that person has the power or not. Yeah. If that person's above you or beside you or below you. So yeah. So it's good stuff, man. So
remember the grass is blue.
Yeah, all right there. The conservative of
our other podcast.
Yes. That's a good side. That was a good topic, Ron. I appreciate you bringing that up. And I think that those of you out there who are navigating similar waters in terms of your personal and professional life, this issue, we'd love to hear what your takes are, what your experiences are, what your philosophies are about it, because it's real. There's a lot of discussion about the loneliness out there and people, not feeling like they have adequate support, whether it's personal or professional. There's a lot of people working from home nowadays. So that decreases in many ways the prospects of interacting with people who might become mentors or part of your board of directors. So it's a real thing. So that's a great topic. So we'll table that one for now and move on to what parting shot you might have for today, Ron.
Okay. So, again, I'm going to blame it on being on the East Coast and how culture starts on the West Coast, and it takes a minute for it to get this far, and especially because I'm a certain age. But my wife and I have been binge watching the show, The Mentalist. And I think it ran for 7 seasons. We're in like the end of season 2 right now.
I loved it. I used to watch it.
Oh my God. Yeah. It is such a fun show, intelligent, witty. The guy Patrick Jane, He's like a Sherlock Holmes. It's so have you?
Maybe
so
you'd like to run a little clip so people can see a little bit of what you're talking about.
Oh, it's.
How about we do that now? I'll just go ahead and run that clip.
Or something, Gizmo, you got psychic powers. So you clairvoyant or something, Gizmo, you got psychic powers.
No powers. Had him once. I mean, I pretended I had him, obviously. No such thing as psychic powers.
So what is it you do exactly?
You know, rock, paper, scissors?
I do.
Play me. On 3. 1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 3.
Yeah.
I loved him.
It's one of these shows that obviously it's a crime show, so there's always murders, but the way they do it in a lighthearted manner and just make it almost family friendly, it's such a great show to watch, and we're really enjoying it.
Yeah, I really
network TV. Gotta love
the good old days.
Good old days.
Cool. Well, we'll leave a clip in the show notes. We also have a clip about your personal board of directors that kind of illuminates what Ron was saying. So we'll leave that clip in the show notes as well. And if you've got something that you've been watching, binging, enjoying that may be family friendly or not, leave your comments as to what you're into. We're always open to finding out about new and fun stuff. So with that, Ron, anything else before we get out of here? Anybody got something they want to share or say about what we talked about today?
Just find yourself some close friends that you can share, and they won't put your business in the streets.
And I still have shocked Ron every episode so far.
A badge of honor. A badge of honor. All right, guys. Well, listen, we're going to get out of here. We'll see you guys next time. And until then, we've got issues, but you don't have to. We'll see you next time.